Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Fortunate as I am, I just ate a cheesecake at the end of a meal that was a knockout. So I had a double whammy. If I start slurring my words, it's not because I'm breaking the principles. It's because that cheesecake was a knockout. Cooked by Brajaloka, Devi Dasi, from Hungary, Budapest to be exact. All right, back in the saddle. You are now free to move around the cabin, if you like. Hare Krishna. Sanatana Goswami composed this prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam, and by reading this prayer, hearing it and going deep into it, it will help us to enter the Srimad-Bhagavatam along with a little cheesecake. Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram from the Sri Krishna Leela Stava by Srila Sanatana Goswami, and it goes like this. Sarvashtrastra Vipuyu, see? Okay, we'll try one more time. Take two. Click. Sarvashastra Vipiyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths. You are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu, Kalidwandodita Ditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadayate, Sarvada Savasevyaya, Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nishtadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Anandana Mostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhutadayin adini chochatakara hanamunchagadachin mam premnarit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we're in one of the most intimate but affectionate parts of the book. This is the lifting of Govardhana Hill by Lord Krishna and his chastening of Lord Indra, King of Heaven. So Krishna has lifted the hill and convinced all the residents of Braja to get underneath the hill The first obstacle was Mother Yashoda, because when she looked down and she saw Krishna standing there, as if he were lifting the whole hill on his little finger, and Krishna asked the residents of Braja to get underneath the hill, she said, no, you can't go there because he's just a little boy, and this is liable to crash down at any moment and kill all of us. So then Krishna said to the residents of Braja, don't listen to my mother. Then he said, does it look like I'm, straining? You see any sweat, He didn't say that, I'm ad-libbing. And finally, they all came underneath. So now we're going to hear about Indra's reaction to that stunning scenario. Chapter 25, 10th canto, text 20, beginning with text 24. When Indra observed this exhibition of Lord Krishna's mystic power, he became most astonished. Pulled down from his platform of false pride and his intentions thwarted, he ordered his clouds to desist. Text 25. Seeing that the fierce wind and rain had now ceased, the sky had become clear of rainbows, rain clouds, and the sun had risen. Lord Krishna, the lifter of Govardhana Hill, spoke to the cowherd community as follows. 26. Lord Krishna said, "My dear cowherd men, please go out with your wives, children, and possessions. Give up your fear. The wind and rain have stopped, and the river's high waters have subsided." 28, 27. After collecting their respective cows and loading their paraphernalia into their wagons, the cowherd men went out. The women, children, and elderly persons gradually followed them. 28. While all living creatures looked on, the Supreme Personality of Godhead put down the hill in its original place, just as it had stood before. Now there's a commentary on this. How Krishna did this was, there was a cave near Paita, which is not far from Govardhana. And Krishna went inside the cave, and the cave goes underneath. And so he went right underneath the hill at the center and then picked it up like this. And when he put the hill back down, he went out the same way he came. 29. All the residents of Vrindavan were overwhelmed with ecstatic love. And they came forward and greeted Sri Krishna according to their individual relationships with him. Some embracing him, some others bowing down to him, and so forth. The cowherd women presented water mixed with yogurt and unbroken barley corns as a token of honor, and they showered auspicious benedictions upon him. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur explains that each of the residents of Vrindavan regarded Krishna in his own way, as an inferior, younger member of the community, as an equal, or as a superior. And they dealt with him accordingly. Krishna's superiors offered auspicious benedictions, lovingly smelled his head, kissed him, rubbed his arms and fingers, and inquired with parental affection as to whether he was tired or pained. Krishna's equals laughed or joked with him, and those who were younger fell at his feet, massaged his feet, and so on. So there's one big section that's not elaborated upon in the Bhagavatam, that is elaborated upon by various of our acharyas. And here, this idea that, his friends were joking with him and all of that. This was afterwards. But while he was under the hill, he actually exchanged openly in front of everyone some degree, some level of loving exchanges in all the different relationships, which he doesn't do in any other place. This is what makes Govardhana unique. When he's at home, he can't interchange with the gopis and Radharani, obviously, with his parents around and all the formalities and things that are going on in his family household. When he's at Radhakund, the cowherd boys, nobody is allowed to go there. Not only that, but our acharyas comment that even though Radhakund's there and it's the most opulent place, the atmosphere is something else, but by Krishna's Yogamaya, by Yogamaya's arrangement, nobody has an interest to go there. So like that, Krishna's Leelas are going in different parts and different places, and in some places the relationships of one rasa are prominent, in other places they're not. But underneath Govardhana Hill, they're all exhibited complete. And not complete, but all of them are exhibited openly in front of everyone else. Of course, everyone is so in love with Krishna, that's all they can see is, and that's why it says here, each of the residents regarded Krishna in his own way. So when we're here in the material world and we're thinking, okay, there's trillions, we don't even know how many, can't count the number of souls that are in the spiritual world. The whole cosmic manifestation is approximately, 1/4 of the whole of Krishna's kingdom. And the spiritual world is, just 3/4. Just to give you an idea. There's no way to actually mathematize it, just to give you an idea. So while they were just to give you a couple of examples of the kinds of things that went on, Mother Yashoda is there, like feeding him, while he's like this, and she's feeding him, and somebody's massaging his arm, and I don't know if they massage this arm, I never heard it directly, but they're trying to please him and keep him, from getting tired. And then one time, Madhumangal, who was his friend and his comical Brahmana friend, he had a stick and he said, look, why should you take all this energy? Don't you know I'm a Brahmana? I have Brahminical tejas. I can do this whole thing. And they put up his stick like this. He said, go ahead, give it to me, and then you can take a rest. So Krishna looked at him and smiled, and he just let just a little tiny bit of the weight go into his stick, and he went crashing down on the ground, and everybody laughed at him, And Krishna looked at him and smiled, These kinds of things are going on, with each one of the different kinds of rasas and each one of the, Krishna's standing there, and then he notices Radharani's there, and he glances and he looks at her, and then he starts to get a little, the whole thing starts to shake, and everybody's like going, no, 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 no. And then Balaram looks at Krishna, and he says, I saw what went on. And then Krishna blushes. So all these things are going on while he's holding up this mountain, It's amazing. Most amazing pastime. And mind the way, he's only 7 years old. The word cha in this verse indicates that the wives of the Brahmanas joined with the cowherd ladies to offer auspicious items like yogurt and unbroken grains. Lord Krishna received benedictions such as this: may you subdue the wicked, protect the decent people, give pleasure to your parents, and be enriched with all wealth in opulence. Text 30. Mother Yashoda, Mother Rohini, Nanda Maharaj and Balaram, the greatest of the strong, all embraced Krishna. Overwhelmed with affection, they offered him their blessings. Text 31. In the heavens, O king, all the demigods, including the Siddhas, Sadhyas, Gandharvas and Charanas, sang the praises of Lord Krishna and showered down flowers in great satisfaction. Purport. The demigods in heaven were just as jubilant as the residents of Vrindavan, and thus a great festival, universal festival, took place. 32. My dear Parikshit, the demigods in heaven resoundingly played their conch shells and kettle drums, and the best of the Gandharvas, led by Tumburu, began to sing. 33. Surrounded by his loving cowherd boyfriends and Lord Balaram, Krishna then went off to the place where he had been tending his cows. The cowherd girls returned to their homes, singing joyfully about the lifting of Govardhana hill and other glorious deeds performed by Lord Krishna, who had so deeply touched their hearts. Purport. Before returning to their homes, the gopis shared intimate association with their lover, Sri Krishna, by exchanging secret glances. Ordinarily, they could not publicly talk about Krishna, since they were chaste young girls in a religious village. But now they took advantage of this wonderful exhibition by the Lord and freely sang of his beautiful qualities. It is natural that a young man wants to do something wonderful in the presence of a beautiful young girl. The gopis were the most beautiful and pure-hearted young girls, and Sri Krishna performed the most wonderful activities in their presence. Thus he entered deep within their tender hearts, enlivening their eternal devotion to him. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 25th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled, Lord Krishna Lifts Govardhana Hill. Oh, Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Okay. Chapter 26, Wonderful Krishna. In this chapter, Nanda Maharaj describes Krishna's opulences to the cowherd men, as Nanda had heard of them from Gargamuni. The cowherd men, unaware of Lord Krishna's power, were amazed to see his various extraordinary activities. The men approached Nanda Maharaj and told him that after seeing how Krishna, a boy of only 7 years old, had lifted a mountain, and how he had previously killed the demoness Putana and generated extreme attraction in the hearts of everyone in Vrindavan, the men had become doubtful and bewildered about how Sri Krishna could possibly have taken birth in the unsuitable environment of a cowherd community. Nanda replied by relating to them what Gargamuni had told him about Sri Krishna. Gargamuni had said that in the previous 3 ages, Nanda's boy had manifested himself in white, red, and yellow forms, whereas now, in the Dwapara age, he had assumed his darkish blue form, Krishna Rupa. Because he descended as the son of Vasudeva, one of his many names is Vasudeva. And he has innumerable other names indicating his many qualities and activities. Gargamuni had predicted that Krishna would prevent all sorts of catastrophes in Gokula, spread unlimited auspiciousness, and increase the ecstasy of the cowherd men and women. In a previous age, he had provided protection for the saintly brahmanas when they were harassed by low-class dacoits, and there was no proper ruler in society. As the demons in the higher planets can never defeat the demigods who have Lord Vishnu on their side, no enemy can ever defeat those who love Krishna. Shall I repeat that? Nobody would mind? Oh, all right. Oh, okay. No enemy can ever defeat those who love Krishna. In his affinity for his devotees and in his opulence and power, Krishna is just like Lord Narayana himself. Overjoyed and awestruck by Gargamuni's statements, the cowherd men concluded that Krishna must be an empowered representative of the Supreme Lord Narayana. Thus they worshipped him and Nanda Maharaj. Text 1. Shukadeva Goswami said, the cowherd men were astonished when they saw Krishna's activities, such as lifting Govardhana hill. Unable to understand his transcendental potency, they approached Nanda Maharaj and spoke as follows. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this verse as follows. During Lord Krishna's pastime of lifting Sri Govardhana hill, the cowherd men simply enjoyed the spiritual bliss of the Lord's activities without analyzing them. But afterwards, when they had returned to their homes, perplexity arose within their hearts. Thus they thought, now we have directly seen child Krishna lift Govardhana hill, and we remember how he killed Putana and other demons, extinguished the forest fire, and so on. At the time, we thought that these extraordinary acts occurred because of a benediction from the Brahmanas, or because of Nanda Maharaj's great fortune, or that perhaps this boy had achieved the mercy of Lord Narayana and was thus empowered by him. But all these presumptions are false, because an ordinary 7-year-old boy could never hold up the king of mountains for 7 whole days. Krishna is not a human being. He must be the Supreme Lord himself. But on the other hand, child Krishna loves it when we coddle him. And he becomes morose when we, his uncles and well-wishers, simply worldly cowherd men, do not give him attention. He appears to become hungry and thirsty, steals yogurt and milk, sometimes plays tricks, tells lies, chatters childishly, and tends the calves. If he is actually the Supreme Lord, why would he do these things? Don't they indicate that he is an ordinary human child? We are totally unable to establish the truth of his identity. Therefore, let us go and inquire from the highly intelligent king of Braja, Nanda Maharaj, and he shall free us from our doubts. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the cowherd men thus made up their minds, and then they entered Nanda Maharaj's great assembly hall and questioned him as described in the following verse. Text 2. The cowherd men said, since this boy performs such extraordinary activities, how could he warrant a birth among worldly men like us? A birth that for him would seem contemptible. Purport. An ordinary living being cannot avoid unpleasant circumstances, but the Supreme Controller, can always make perfect arrangements for his pleasure. 3. How could this 7-year-old boy playfully hold up the great hill Govardhana with one hand, just as a mighty elephant holds up a lotus flower? As a mere infant, who had hardly yet opened his eyes, he drank the breast milk of the powerful demoness Putana, and then sucked out her very life air as well, just as the force of time sucks out the youth of one's body. Purport. The word vaya in this verse indicates youth, or lifespan in general. With irresistible power, time takes away our life. And that time is actually Lord Krishna himself. Thus, in the case of the powerful witch Putana, Lord Krishna accelerated the time process and within an instant withdrew the duration of her life. Here the cowherd men mean to say, how could a mere infant who could barely open his eyes so easily kill a very powerful demoness? Once, when he was only 3 months old, little Krishna was crying and kicking up his feet as he lay beneath a huge cart. Then the cart fell and turned upside down simply because it was struck by the tip of his toe. At the age of 1, while sitting peacefully, he was taken up into the sky by the demon Trinavarta. But baby Krishna grabbed the demon's neck, causing him great pain, and thus killed him. Purport. The cowherd men, who loved Krishna as an ordinary child, were astonished by all these activities. A newborn infant cannot ordinarily kill the powerful witch, and one would hardly think that a 1-year-old baby could kill a demon who had kidnapped him and carried him up into the sky. But Krishna did all these wonderful things, and the cowherd men were enhancing their love for him by remembering and discussing his activities. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. Right? This is the goal of life. This is actually the goal of life, to sit here and hear Krishna's pastimes in the company of other devotees. This is it. It doesn't get any better than this. This is the goal. This is how you get attachment to Krishna. Once, his mother tied him up with ropes to a mortar because she had caught him stealing butter. Then, crawling on his hands, he dragged the mortar between a pair of Arjun trees and pulled them down. Purport. The 2 Arjun trees were old and thick, and they towered above little Krishna's courtyard. Nevertheless, they were pulled down quite easily by the naughty child. Text 8. Another time, when Krishna was tending the calves in the forest, together with Balaram and the cowherd boys, the demon Bakasura came with the intention of killing Krishna. But Krishna seized this inimical demon by the mouth and tore him apart. Desiring to kill Krishna, the demon Vatsa disguised himself as a calf and entered among Krishna's calves. But Krishna killed the demon, and using his body enjoyed the sport of knocking kapita fruits down from the trees. Together with Lord Balaram, Krishna killed the jackass demon and all his friends, thereby securing the safety of the Talaban forest, which abound with fully ripened palm fruits. Purport. Long, long ago, the powerful demons Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were born of the goddess Diti. Therefore, demons are commonly called Daityas or Daityas, meaning descendants of Diti. Denakasura, the ass demon, terrorized the Tala forest with his friends, but Sri Krishna and Sri Balaram killed them just as modern governments kill terrorists who harass innocent people. Text 11. After arranging for the mighty Lord Balaram to kill the terrible demon Pralamba, Krishna saved Braja's cowherd boys and their animals from a forest fire. Krishna chastised the most poisonous serpent, Kaliya, and after humbling him, he drove him away forcibly from the lake of the Yamuna. In this way, the Lord made the water of the river free of the snake's powerful poison. Dear Nanda, how is it that we and all the other residents of Braja cannot give up our constant affection for your son? And how is it that he is so spontaneously attracted to us? Purport. The very word Krishna means the all-attractive one. The residents of Vrindavan could not give up their constant love, anuraga, for Lord Krishna. Their attitude toward him was not particularly theistic because they were unsure whether he was God or not. But he attracted all their love precisely because as God, he is the all-attractive person, the supreme object of our love. The cowherd men also asked, how is it that young Krishna feels such constant love for us? In fact, the Supreme Lord loves all living beings who are eternally his children. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna dramatically declares his affection for Arjuna and urges Arjuna to reciprocate that love by surrendering to him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his prayers to Lord Krishna, states, Etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivam idrishamiha janinanuragaha. My Lord, you are so merciful toward me, but I am so unfortunate that love for you is not awakened within me. Shikshashtaka 2. In this statement, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also uses the word anuraga. Our misfortune is that we cannot reciprocate the anuraga, or loving affection, that the Lord feels for us. Although we are infinitesimal and insignificant, and the Lord is infinitely attractive, somehow we do not give him our love. We must accept responsibility for this foolish decision. Since to surrender to God or not is the essential expression of our free will. The Krishna consciousness movement provides an efficient, systematic program to help conditioned souls revive their original blissful consciousness, which is love of God, Krishna consciousness. The intricacies of Krishna consciousness are so wonderful that even Krishna's eternal associates, the residents of Vrindavan, are astonished by them, as shown by these verses. On the one hand, this boy is only 7 years old, and on the other, we see that he has lifted the great hill, Govardhana. Therefore, O King of Braja, a doubt about your son arises within us. Nanda Maharaj replied, O cowherd men, just hear my words, and let all your doubts concerning my son be gone. Some time ago, Garga Muni spoke to me as follows about this boy. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami comments, the words previously heard from Gargacharya awakened Nanda Maharaj to the truth about Krishna. And thus, by Nanda's constantly remembering his activities, all thoughts about their being impossible ceased in him. Now he is instructing the cowherd men with these same words. 16. Gargamuni had said, "Your son Krishna appears as an incarnation in every millennium. In the past, he assumed 3 different colors, white, red, and yellow. And now he has appeared in a blackish color." Purport. This and the next 6 verses, 17 through 22, are taken from the 8th chapter of this canto, in which Gargamuni instructs Nanda Maharaj about Nanda's son, Krishna. The translations found herein for these verses are based on those of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In chapter 8, where the verses originally appear, the reader will find extensive purports by Srila Prabhupada. That's the only thing that we think is, if there were only more purports. These purports are so wonderful that my godbrothers did, but if they would be more, we would be more happy. That's it. Text 17. For many reasons, this beautiful son of yours sometimes appeared previously as the son of Vasudeva. Therefore, those who are learned sometimes call this child Vasudeva. 18. For this son of yours, there are many forms and names according to his transcendental qualities and activities. These are known to me, but people in general do not understand them. To increase the transcendental bliss of the cowherd men of Gokula, this child will always act auspiciously for you, and by his grace only, you will surpass all difficulties. O Nanda Maharaj, as recorded in history, when there is an irregular, incapable government, Indra having been dethroned, and when honest people were being harassed and disturbed by thieves, this child appeared in order to curb the rogues and to protect the people and enable them to flourish. Demons cannot harm the demigods, who always have Lord Vishnu on their side. Similarly, any person or group attached to all auspicious Krishna cannot be defeated by enemies. Purport. Srila Prabhupada is especially indicated in this connection that just as Lord Krishna's associates could not be defeated by Kamsa, so his modern day devotees will not be defeated by their demoniac opponents, nor will the Lord's devotees be defeated by the internal enemies, the lusty, materialistic senses. Text 22. Therefore, O Nanda Maharaj, this child of yours is as good as Narayana. In his transcendental qualities, opulence, name, fame, and influence, he is exactly like Narayana. Thus, you should not be astonished by his activities. Purport. Nandi here reports to the cowherd men the concluding remarks of Gargamuni, who spoke at the secret birth ceremony of Lord Krishna. Nanda Maharaj continued, after Garga Rishi spoke these words to me and returned home, I began to consider that Krishna, who keeps us free from trouble, is actually an expansion of Lord Narayana. Shukadev Goswami continued, having heard Nanda Maharaj relate the statements of Gargamuni, the residents of Vrindavan became enlivened. Their perplexity was gone, and they worshipped Nanda and Lord Krishna with great respect. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that in this verse, the word anarchu indicates that the residents of Vrindavan honored Nanda and Krishna with such offerings as fragrances, garlands, and garments brought from their homes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds that the residents of Vrindavan honored Nanda and Krishna with loving offerings of jewels and gold coins. Apparently, Lord Krishna was playing in the forest when this conversation took place. So when he returned home, the residents of Vrindavan encouraged him by decorating him with beautiful yellow garments, necklaces, armlets, earrings, and crowns, and by shouting, all glories to the jewel of Vrindavan. Text 25. Indra became angry when his sacrifice was disrupted, and thus he caused rain and hail to fall on Gokula, accompanied by lightning and powerful winds, all of which brought great suffering to the cowherds, animals, and women there. When Lord Krishna, who is by nature always compassionate, saw the condition of those who had only him as their shelter, he smiled broadly and lifted Govardhana hill with one hand, just as a small child picks up a mushroom to play with it. Holding up the hill, he protected the cowherd community. May he, Govinda, the Lord of the cows and the destroyer of Indra's false pride, be pleased with us. Purport. The word Indra means Lord or King. Thus, in this verse, Krishna is pointedly called Indro Gavam, the Lord of the cows. In fact, he is the real Indra, the real ruler of everyone, and the demigods are merely his servants, representing his supreme will. It is apparent from this and the previous verses in this chapter that Lord Krishna's lifting of Govardhana hill made quite an impression on the simple cowherd men of Vrindavan. And they repeatedly remembered this feat. Certainly, anyone who soberly and objectively considers the activities of young Krishna will surrender to him and become his eternal devotee in loving devotional service. That is the rational conclusion one should come to after reading this chapter. Thus then the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 26th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled, Wonderful Krishna. Better than going to the movies. Chapter 27. Lord Indra and Mother Surabhi offer prayers. This chapter describes how the Surabhi cow and Indra, having seen the amazing power of Lord Krishna, performed a bathing ceremony for him. Ashamed of having attacked Vrindavan with a violent storm, Indra secretly came before Lord Krishna, offered obeisances, and praised him. Indra stated that although Sri Krishna offered obeisances and praised him, Indra stated that although Sri Krishna is never caught in the current of material illusion, which is born of ignorance, he nevertheless accepts a human-like body and performs various activities to establish religious principles and chastise the wicked. By this means he crushes the false prestige of those who presume themselves great controllers. Indra went on to declare that Krishna is the Father, Guru, and Lord of all living entities, and that in the form of time he is the agent of their punishment. Satisfied with Indra's prayers, Sri Krishna told him that he had stopped the Indra Yajna so that Indra, puffed up as he was with false pride, would remember the Lord. Persons intoxicated by material opulence never see him standing before them with the rod of punishment in his hand. Therefore, if Lord Krishna desires the actual good fortune of some person, he brings him down from his position of opulence. Lord Krishna ordered Indra to return to his proper position in heaven and to serve there without egotism. Indra, along with the cow, Surabhi, then performed a bathing ceremony for Krishna using the water of the heavenly Ganges and the milk of Mother Surabhi. Indra and the cow took this opportunity to bestow upon the Lord the name Govinda, and the demigods showered flowers and recited various prayers. Text 1. Shukadev Goswami said, after Krishna had lifted Govardhana hill and thus protected the inhabitants of Braja from the terrible rainfall, Surabhi, the mother of the cows, came from her planet to see Krishna. She was accompanied by Indra. Purport. The word Golokat here indicates the material planet called Goloka, which is filled with exceptional cows. Surabhi went joyfully to see Lord Krishna, but Indra went fearfully. As indicated by this verse, Lord Krishna had to adopt extraordinary measures to protect his Vrindavan associates from Indra's obnoxious and offensive attack. Certainly Indra was ashamed and also nervous about his future. Having acted improperly, he had fearfully gone to seek the shelter of Lord Brahma, who then ordered him to take along Surabhi from the material Goloka planet and go to see Krishna. Text 2. Indra was very ashamed of having offended the Lord. Approaching him in a solitary place, Indra fell down and lay his helmet, whose effulgence was as brilliant as the sun, upon the Lord's lotus feet. Purport. The specific solitary place where Indra approached Sri Krishna is mentioned by the sage Sri Vaishampayana as in the Harivamsa, Vishnu Purana 9.3. Sa darsho babishtam vai Govardhana shilatale. He saw Krishna sitting at the base of Govardhana hill. From the commentaries of the Acharyas, we understand that Lord Krishna wanted to provide a solitary meeting for Indra so that he would not be further humiliated. Indra came to surrender and beg forgiveness, and the Lord allowed him to do so privately. 3. Indra had now heard of and seen the transcendental power of the omnipotent Krishna, and his false pride in being the Lord of the three worlds was thus defeated. Holding his hands together in supplication, he addressed the Lord as follows. King Indra said, "Your transcendental form, a manifestation of pure goodness, is undisturbed by change, shining with knowledge, and devoid of passion and ignorance. In you does not exist the mighty flow of the modes of material nature, which is based on illusion and ignorance." Purport. The great Bhagavatam commentator Srila Sridhar Swami has masterfully explained the Sanskrit elements of this profound verse. The Sanskrit word Dhamma has several meanings. A dwelling place, house, abode, and so forth, so on. B, a favorite thing or person, delight or pleasure. C, form or appearance. Or D, power, strength, majesty, glory, splendor, or light. Concerning the first set of meanings, the Vedanta Sutra states that the Absolute Truth is the source and resting place of all existence. And in the first verse of the Bhagavatam, that Absolute Truth is said to be Krishna. Although Lord Krishna exists in his own Dhamma, or abode, called Krishna Loka, he himself is the abode of all existence, as Arjuna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita, where he addresses Krishna as Param Dhamma, the supreme abode. The very name Krishna indicates the all-attractive person, and thus Lord Krishna, the source of all beauty and pleasure, is certainly the favorite thing or person, delight and pleasure. Ultimately, these terms can refer only to Krishna. Dhamma also refers to form or appearance. And as Indra offered these prayers, he was in fact directly seeing the form of Krishna before him. As clearly explained in the Vedic literature, Lord Krishna's power, strength, majesty, splendor, and effulgence are all contained within his transcendental body, and thus attest to the infinite glories of the Lord. Srila Sridhar Swami has brilliantly summarized all these meanings of the word Dhamma by giving the Sanskrit term Sarupa as a synonym. The word Sarup means one's own form or shape, and also one's own condition, character, or nature. Since Lord Krishna, being pure spirit, is non-different from his body, there is absolutely no difference between the Lord and his visible form. By contrast, in this material world, we conditioned souls are all distinctly different from our bodies, whether those bodies be male, female, black, white, or whatever. All of us are eternal souls, different from our temporary, flimsy bodies. When the word Sarupa is applied to us, it especially indicates our spiritual form, because our own form is in fact our own condition, character, or nature eternally. Thus, the liberated condition in which one's outward form is one's deepest spiritual nature is called Sarup. Primarily, however, this term refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This is all indicated in this verse by the words Tava Dhamma, as explained by Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami has explained that here the word Shantam means always in the same form. Shantam can also mean undisturbed, free from passion, or purified. According to Vedic philosophy, all change in this world is caused by the influence of passion and ignorance. The passionate mode is creative, and the ignorant mode is destructive, whereas the mode of goodness, sattva, is serene and sustaining. In many ways, this verse emphasizes that Lord Krishna is free from the modes of nature. The words Vishuddha Sattvam, Shantam, Dvashtarajas Tamaskam, and Guna Sampravaho Navidyate Te all indicate this. Unlike Krishna, we change from one body to another because of our involvement with the modes of nature. The various transformations of material forms are impelled by the modes of nature, which are themselves set in motion by the influence of time. Therefore, one who is free from the material modes of nature is changeless and eternally satisfied in blissful spiritual existence. Thus the word Shantam indicates that the Lord is undisturbed by change, since he is free from the material modes of nature. According to this verse, the powerful flow of the material modes of nature, namely passion, stupidity, and mundane piety, are based on agrahana, which Srila Sridhar Swami has translated as ignorance. Since the Sanskrit word graha means to take, accept, grasp, or comprehend, grahana means grasp, exactly in the sense of to grasp an idea or fact. Therefore, agrahana here means one's failure to understand one's spiritual position. And this failure causes one to fall into the violent currents of material existence. An additional meaning of the word agrahana is derived when it is divided into the compound agra, hana. Agra means the first, top, or best, and hana means killing. The best of our existence is the pure soul, which is eternal, in contradistinction to the temporary material body and mind. Thus, one who chooses material existence over Krishna consciousness is in fact killing the best part of himself, the soul, which is when it's in its pure state can enjoy Krishna consciousness unlimitedly. Srila Sridhar Swami has translated tapo mayam as full of knowledge. The word tapas, generally indicating austerity, is derived from the Sanskrit verb tap, whose meaning can be summarized as indicating the various functions of the sun. Tap means to burn, to shine, to heat, and so on. The Supreme Lord is eternally perfect, and therefore here, tapo mayam does not indicate that his transcendental body is meant for austerities, since austerities are performed by conditioned souls to purify themselves or to acquire a particular power. An omnipotent, perfect being neither purifies himself nor acquires power. He is eternally pure and all-powerful. Therefore, Sridhar Swami has intelligently understood that in this case, the word tapas refers to the illuminating function of the sun, and thus indicates that Lord's self-effulgent body is omniscient. Light is a common symbol of knowledge. The Lord's spiritual effulgence does not merely illuminate physically, as in the case of a candle or light bulb. More importantly, the Lord's body illuminates our consciousness with perfect knowledge, because the Lord's effulgence is itself perfect knowledge. Oh, man. Hare Krishna. We thank our respectful obeisances. We offer our respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Sridhar Swami and thank him for his enlightening comments on this verse. And we should thank, in turn, the servants of Srila Prabhupada for composing that fantastic purport. Hare Krishna. Such a nice purport. Text 5. How then could there exist in you the symptoms of an ignorant person, such as greed, lust, anger, and envy, which are produced by one's previous involvement in material existence, and which cause one to become further entangled in material existence. And yet, as the Supreme Lord, you impose punishment to protect religious principles and curb down the wicked. Purport. This complex philosophical statement by Indra may be analyzed as follows. In the first line of this verse, Indra refers to the main idea expressed at the end of the previous verse, namely, that the great currents of material existence, which are based on ignorance, cannot possibly exist within the Supreme Lord. The words tad detva, detatva, detava, and tatkrita indicate that something causes the mode of nature to manifest, and that they in turn become the cause of that which caused them. In the second line of this verse, we find that it is material feelings, such as greed, lust, envy, and anger, that cause the modes of nature to manifest, and that are themselves caused by the modes of nature. The explanation of this seeming paradox is as follows. When the conditioned soul decides to associate with the material qualities, he becomes contaminated by those qualities. As stated in the Gita 13:22, Karanam gunasangosya sarasat joni janmasu. For example, in the presence of a seductive woman, a man may give in to his lower instincts and try to enjoy sex with her. By his deciding to associate with the lower qualities of nature, those qualities manifest in him very powerfully. He is overwhelmed with lust and driven to try again and again to satisfy his burning desire. Because his mind has been infected by lust, all that he does, thinks, and speaks will be influenced by his strong attachment to sex. In other words, by choosing to associate with the lusty qualities of nature, he has caused them to powerfully manifest within himself. And eventually, those lusty qualities themselves will cause him to accept another material body, suitable for affairs governed by those qualities. The lower qualities such as lust, greed, anger, and envy are abuddha linga bhava, symptoms of ignorance. Indeed, as indicated by Srila Sridhar Swami in his commentary, the manifestation of the modes of nature is synonymous with the manifestation of a particular material body. It is clearly explained throughout the Vedic literature that the conditioned soul receives a particular body, gives it up, and then accepts another simply because of his involvement with the modes of nature, karanam gunasangosya. Thus, to say that one is participating in the modes of nature is to say that one is accepting particular types of bodies suitable for the particular material qualities one is involved with. In other words, we have to take responsibility. And if we don't, all we do is blame everyone and everything else, including God. An ignorant bystander might have simplistically interpreted Krishna's pastime of lifting Govardhana hill as follows. The residents of Vrindavan were obliged by Vedic principles to make certain offerings to the god of heaven, Indra. Child Krishna, ignoring the position of Indra, usurped these offerings and took them for his own pleasure. When Indra tried to punish Krishna and his associates, the lords frustrated Indra's attempt, humiliating him and exhausted his pride and resources. But this superficial interpretation is refuted in this verse. Here, Lord Indra addresses Sri Krishna as Bhagavan, indicating that he is not an ordinary child, but in fact, God. Therefore, Krishna's punishing Indra was part of his mission of protecting religious principles and curbing down the envious. It was not a display of material anger or of greed for the offerings meant for Indra. Sri Krishna is pure spiritual existence, and his simple, sublime desire is to engage all living beings in the perfect, blissful life of Krishna consciousness. Krishna's desire to make us Krishna conscious is not egotistical, since ultimately Krishna is everything, and Krishna consciousness is objectively the best consciousness. Lord Indra is really the humble servant of Krishna, in a fact he is now beginning to remember. We'll stop there. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's pull out the magic. Open mic. Yes. Shyam Govinda is going to enlighten us further.
Okay. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Shyam Govinda.
Thank you.
Haribol.
So we read, I guess it was chapter 26. The coward man were astonished and confused about Krishna's identity. And that made me remember that last Christmas I gave to some friends of mine from childhood the higher taste. And these friends of mine are not devotees, are non-devotees, and they opened it and they saw a picture of Krishna, and they asked me, "So you really believe that this is God and he's blue?" And I felt, at that point, I felt quite astonished myself. I thought, "Wow, how am I going to argue against this? You know, what am I going to say?" I felt myself quite astonished. So I just wanted to hear from you something about that state of mind. I felt quite, if that happened, because I really didn't have any rational argument, I guess, to use with them.
Have you got a better idea? That was Prabhupada's immediately response to something like that. Have you got a better idea? You got a candidate? Bring him on. What did your candidate do?
Because later on that night, while I was going home, I felt a bit ashamed myself. Why I should get ready for those kind of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it means to become a preacher. You have to have your repertoire, just like the musician's got a repertoire of all these songs that he sings in order to, please the audience. You've got to have your repertoire. When I was sitting in that little library upstairs for almost 7 years, every single day, except when I was in India refreshing, every single day for 3 to 12 hours a day, every single day, answering questions from whoever came in the door. I remember that I met a widest variety of people that I could imagine. And then I realized that just what London was, just by sitting in that room. Because people came from all over the world, they came from all kinds of, economic and social, positions and everything. And I learned that there's a repertoire of answers. The people don't have so many questions. That's one classic one. But there's not that many, or you can categorize them, and there's many varieties of them. But there's really not that many basic, questions and doubts. And what I did was, by trial and error, by learning the hard way, I learned which ones worked. And every time I got that question, I gave that same answer. And it became, after a long time, it was very powerful. I had one group of Swedish girls come in, young. They were like kind of like know-it-alls, you know. They knew everything. They had a superior race kind of, you know, Swedes, you know. And I just answered everything that they said straight from my repertoire. I didn't make anything up. And afterwards, as they were leaving, they turned around and they looked at me and said, "You are a great teacher." Just like that. Because they felt they had got the answers and it was clear. So the secret is not to try to be something that you're not to try to speak about something that you don't know. Just be yourself and answer with what you're sure of, what you know. And then you get confident and as you practice over years, then you'll have the right thing to say to anybody at any moment, and then it's a whole nother ball game. As they say in America, I don't know what they say here. It's a whole other, what? Same ball game, okay. It doesn't hurt also to live in 9 countries long enough to kind of I don't want you to do that. Please. You don't have to, that's my point. You just stay in London and they all come, you know, like you meet everybody all over the world practically. So cool, so cool, so sweet. Yes.
Also another side
Go on,
of
please.
my question is, sometimes in my life, actually, we have probably the mind takes over, and I find myself wondering, wow, but who's God? Who's Krishna? Do I actually know his identity? What do you know those times where you actually, wow, am I really? Whoa, you know, kind sort of doubts.
Well, Prabhupada would say, just like if you wanted to know some intimate thing about a life of somebody who was really like elevated in human society, the kind of person who has a whole entourage around him and you can't get through and without going through the whatever layers of bureaucracy or secretaries or whatever it is, you know, how are you going to find out? You're not. You know, but if someone who's close to him, you know, you befriend him, and you, well, what does this guy think about this? And he says, oh yeah, he said to me the other day, he told me this and this and this and this. That's the way you find out. You can't find out any other way. That's the answer to the question, how do I know? How do I know? Because you're hearing from persons who are extremely elevated in human society. Nowadays, they ask some I don't even want to say the words in such an august assembly, but somebody who's like, I don't know, the most degraded person, they say, what do you think about this issue? You know, because he's got his name plastered all over the, you know, internet or the, you know, the headlines. It's natural. The tendency is natural to ask for somebody who's famous what they think about things. It's natural. Everything, every single thing that we've learned since we were babies has come from another person telling us. I mean, when we get to a certain level of education, maybe we can see something and put ideas together, but all those ideas came from someone else. That's the reality. So I guess my mood or my answer to the question is, you know, the deeper you understand it and more confidence you have, the more your doubt has been removed, then when you say even the same words, it will have a deeper effect. And look at Prabhupada. Prabhupada came to Lower East Side, New York, Haight-Ashbury, 1967. I mean, hello. These people were free on steroid free. They were like free to the max. They didn't want to hear anything about, institution, authority, government. What to speak of rules and regulations? I mean, my God, it was unheard of. And yet, because of the quality of Prabhupada's sound of his voice, I was talking to Priya Kun the other day, and he was talking about how the sound of Prabhupada's voice just, gives you something you can't get just any other way. So, not that we can imitate Prabhupada, but, by following in his footsteps and accepting something that's actually true, that's the definition of honesty, isn't it? It's not just that you pay back your money that you loan, or you do what you say you're going to do, which is a part of it. But honesty means when you hear something that's true, you can accept it. That's what Jesus meant when he said, let those who have ears hear. Your consciousness has to be such that you understand clear enough that when you hear something that's true, you can accept it. And then when you repeat it, it's stronger, it's powerful. When you repeat something that you've just made up in your mind, it goes, it's kind of like, it doesn't go through the heart, it just falls off the edge of the tongue onto the table, So it's more than just, what the words are. There has to be a Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Asam Shayam Samagramam Yata Gyasasi Tat Trinu. So Krishna says, now here, O Arjun, how I'm going to teach you how to understand who I am free from doubt. My asakta. Asakta means attachment. My asakta, attachment to me. Maya sakta manaparta. Yogam yunjan madashraya. By taking shelter of me. Or, Prabhupada also pointed out that mad ashraya also means taking shelter of one who is taking shelter of me. In other words, learning from someone who knows Krishna. And to the degree that they know Krishna, that's the degree that you can speak with authority and speak with certainty and with power. And it affects the consciousness of the person that's listening deeper. So as you go through the steps and the procedures, the stages of spiritual attainment, then the quality of your voice changes. And the quality of your company changes also. And there's no substitute for experience, actually. That's why Prabhupada heard from his spiritual master his mission, and then how many years later? 44, 40, 22, 75, 45 years later. He executed it, or he started to execute it. Well, he started before, but he really took the step, went to the West like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj told him to. Is that something?
That's a lot. Amazing. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Shamagori.
It was very wonderful what you were just saying about the power of a realized person's words. I met a person on Sankirtan some time ago who was like a real broken person. And he said, I don't want to have anything to do with religion. And I thought, I asked him, did you have some traumatic experience about it, or what's your problem with it? And he said yes. And I said, would you mind to tell me? And he said that he asked a question. He was a Catholic person, and he asked a question of his priest, and he got excommunicated. And I said, what was the question? And the question was, how do I know that the words in the Bible are in fact the words of God? And he got excommunicated for it.
There you go. I always, especially when I'm talking to students or educating people, I always bring up that purport and verse in the 3rd canto, 26th chapter, 30th verse, that talks about when the universe was being created, and in the transformation from subtle to gross, intelligence manifested, when intelligence first manifested. This is in the Sarga, not the Visarga. This is before Brahma came. This is all Mahavishnu doing this directly. And there, the first quality or function, original function of intelligence is doubt. And the purport, Prabhupada just gives this wonderful purport, and he says that doubt is one of the important functions of intelligence, and anybody who doesn't doubt something when it first comes in front of him is not exhibiting intelligence. I believe that this is the only scripture that says something like that. First of all, we want you to doubt. But then he explains that doubting has a function to protect us and to discriminate what's good for us, what's going to happen if I accept this, or what's going to happen. And then he said, in that sense, it's constructive doubting, until one actually comes to a source of real knowledge. And when you come to a source of real knowledge, then that same doubting will be destructive. That's called in the Bible the doubting Thomas. In Gita, it's agyascha shadadanascha sangshayatma binashati nayam loko stina paro nasukam sangshayatmanaha. Which means, somebody got a translation? Agyascha shadadanascha. One who is doubtful of the scriptures or of the spiritual authority cannot have happiness neither in this life or in the next. So then you can tell the persons who actually, they're miserable. Person's doubt, existential doubt, causes people to be miserable, because it's the actual opposite of what makes one happy, when one actually knows who he is and who is God, what this world is for, what we're supposed to be doing, what the goal of life is, why we're here, and all of that, where we came from. So those things have to be there. The existential truths have to be digested, they have to be assimilated, digested, and our character, into our character. There's another very nice verse which describes how when a person who's actually advanced, when they speak, the vibration so much is appreciated by the super soul who's sitting in the heart, that the particles of dust from his lotus feet are dislodged, and they mix with the sound, and they come out of the mouth, and they inspire change in the consciousness. Saffron particles of dust from the lotus feet of the Lord mix with the sound of the person's voice, and they get something. As we got things and heard Prabhupada just once say them, and we got the effect of having thousands of years of austerities. In a general sense, you can't understand that Krishna is God without having gone through thousands of years of austerities. So we should become inspired by that and try to become sincere, serious seekers and devotees, and be trained and do it and make others, train them and get them to do it, and Hare Krishna. That's what pleases Krishna most. Ya idang paramam guyam mad bhakti shat abhidashyati bhaktim mai param kritva mam evaisha sangshayaha. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. Nachatasma manusheshu kaschin me priyakrita maha babita nachame tasmat anyak priyataro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. End of story. Something?
I really appreciate this.
Brajaloka's got something.
I really appreciate this verse where he's explained that Braja's residents were...
She's translating from Hungarian to English. Go ahead.
I try, sorry for my
No,
English.
I'm just...
So they were
relative.
amazed how Krishna really loved them and how he attached to them. And it reminds me to a place in Srimad-Bhagavatam where Krishna is speaking about his own emotions to Gopakumar, and it's such a beautiful topic, how Krishna loves how Krishna loves
how he loves his devotees, yes.
Yeah, and how this wonderful reciprocation between...
Yeah, that's right in the Gita. You know the verse?
Sorry?
It's in the Gita. You know the verse? Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvesha stina priyo ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya ye maite te tujapyaham. I'm equal to everyone. I'm not an enemy or not a friend to anyone. But if one approaches me with love, I become dear to him and he becomes dear to me. And of course, there's those famous verses in which Lord Vishnu told Durvasa Muni that I can't help you. You offended Ambarish Maharaj, my dear devotee, and I am completely controlled by him. Lord Chaitanya embodied this principle, and whenever anybody asked him about Krishna, he said, I don't know anything about Krishna. I learned about Krishna from, Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy, Haridas Thakur, etc., etc. So, yeah. He wants to, it's his will, he can do anything he wants, and he wants to deliver the world by the touch of the dust of the lotus feet of his devotees. And in the purport, 11th canto, there's a verse in which Krishna says this very thing, that my will is he's deputizing his devotees to deliver fallen souls. He doesn't do it himself generally. He has his devotees do it on his behalf, by his sanction, of course. And in the purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna, he is so much a servant of his devotees that he follows behind his devotees. He follows his devotees. And then while he's following his devotees who are walking ahead of him, the wind blows the dust from his feet up ahead, and then his devotees walk through it, and it's that dust, that purifies the world. I think Jesus said the same thing to his disciples. You go everywhere and let the dust of your feet, I think so. There's something like that in the Bible. Marching orders. According to our capacity. Not that we have to become, Parimarjagacharya, sannyasi, and go all over the world, do that, you can do that, but according to our capacity, wherever you are, just repeat what Krishna says with conviction. First realize it and then repeat it. And even if you haven't realized, repeat it. Then you will realize it. That's it. And with that, I'm going to draw the curtain on this, what is it, chapter of our visits to this holy Hode. Holy Hode Farm. Hare Krishna. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki Jai. Now I'd like to make an announcement to anyone and everyone who listens, that I won't be giving the reading tomorrow night because I'll be on an airplane going to Delhi, and Krishna willing and body and mind willing, we'll be doing the reading tomorrow night in Delhi. Probably about the same time as 6:30, something like that. And that means it'll be like, 1:30, something like that here in the afternoon. Thank you all so much. My life is in your company. I don't know what more I can say. I get so much strength and purpose. My life this is what causes me to live and go on, and Hare Krishna. It's all your mercy. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All right. Go Premanandi. See you in Delhi on Monday night. Monday night? Yeah. Monday night. Hare Krishna. Hare Bo.